In this 5-part miniseries, we're going to take a look at my top 5 board games that get a BGG complexity rating of 4 and up. Let's dive in. From the intricate mind of Vital Lacerda and the incredible artwork of Ian O'Toole, colonizing Mars never looked so good. At least more fun than what Matt Damon had to put up with. The first game in this series is probably the most complex game that I've ever had to learn and ever had to teach. With a complexity rating of 4.67 out of 5, this game could potentially melt your brain. On Mars is an economic worker placement city building game, where players get to shuttle to and from Mars, from orbit down to the planet's surface. Now they do this to gather different types of blueprints or supplies, maybe develop some technologies, construct and upgrade buildings, hire scientists, accept contracts, manage ships and colonists, and explore the surface of the planet. The objective of the game is to be the player that contributes the most to the construction of the first colony on Mars. This happens at the end of the game, when 3 missions have been completed. These contributions are tracked in the form of opportunity points, OP for short, that players gather and collect throughout the progression of the game. Now there's a lot going on Mars. There are so many intertwining parts that can be seen as a beautiful mechanism running like clockwork, but it's also just a massive analysis paralysis machine. Now, this can be seen most in how all of the mechanics and different actions combined and blend together. Your construction of buildings, along with your technology and how you've upgraded it, where you place your workers, it just meshes and it blends together in this thematic Euro. Alright, so obviously when you're trying to colonize or maybe try and terraform a planet, which we obviously know how to do, requires workers. Those workers require oxygen. To get oxygen, you need plants. And to have plants, you then need water. To have enough water, you need to melt the ice that's available on Mars, which requires power. And to get power, you need different minerals to generate some sort of energy harvesting generator. And then to harvest those minerals, you need colonists. It just makes sense. Everything that you're trying to do, it just feels super thematic. You're on this barren planet, void of life, no real friends because you're trying to compete against each other. Wait, is this game fun? Now, if you can't already tell, I love playing this game, but I do have some minor gripes, and I'll get into those a bit first before I talk about more of the specific things that I like about the game. Now, firstly, like any highly complex game, this one takes a while to learn, it takes a while to teach. And the 30-page rulebook is relatively coherent and comprehensive. It is good if you just want to get into a game and read from it. I just find it difficult at times to kind of navigate and look for those kind of little caveats or specific scenario-based questions that usually comes up as I'm playing the game. I think an index of sorts could kind of help out with those keywords or key questions. So that would be one of my biggest kind of issues with the rulebook itself. I just have a poor memory. Now, combined with the long teach, tabling the game can be a bit difficult. First, you're going to have to find some friends who are willing to sit down and listen to you for an hour to teach the game. And then you have to manage their expectations and tell them, all right, after that, we're going to probably play this game for maybe 2 to 3 hours. And most of the time, so what ends up happening, once you set those expectations, they're like, nah, I don't want to do it. But once you do find friends to agree, make sure they're all caffeinated up, ready to go, and strap yourself in. Another thing that I would like to say is if you have any friends or if you yourself have high AP or analysis paralysis, this game probably won't be for you or that group. Having high AP isn't bad, it just makes the game a bit longer to play, and it could be a bit more mentally taxing as you're waiting for other players to do their turns with this highly complex game. The last thing I want to mention is that the player count on the box lists 1 to 4 players, but I don't think I'd ever play with 4 players again. Having 4 players just means the board gets more crowded, which means that the game takes longer. And I know Some people don't really have a problem with that thing and they're into it, just silly. But I'm not. So 4 players is a no-go for me. And if you're new and you're just learning the rules and just getting into the game, this means less things for you to do, and it could seem that you're not really building the engine you want to because everything else is blocked up. It also means more competition for turn order, which is very important. Now, to feel less cluttered and to have more choice available to you on the board, I'd recommend playing with no more than 3. Despite these issues derived from the complexity of the game, let's talk about the things that I love about On Mars. Let's start with something obvious. On Mars is a super complex Euro, but it doesn't have the beige, brown, bland look of a Euro. It's super colorful and vibrant, and it just has such an amazing table presence. There are silk screen wooden components, double layered boards, little plastic gems that just feel nice to play with. It's just overall eye candy. And if I'm going to spend 2 to 3 hours playing a game and looking at it, On Mars is definitely going to be up there on my top picks. I've mentioned before that On Mars has a lot going on. And I just think this game does a really, really good job at helping new players or just helping anyone at any point in time ease into the game. What you can do is you can start the game off with objectives. And what this does is it helps players have a goal, something to reach. And as they're trying to achieve this goal, you're trying out different actions to see what you can do. It can be hard to decide what strategy you want to choose or implement. Do you start in orbit? Do you start on planet? Once you do that, you're also trying to find out, okay, do I want to be the first player? Do I want to be last? Do I want a particular benefit? These objectives just help you to build a clearer path for how you would like to build your engine and get that going and off the ground. It's my preferred way to play, I would have to say. Now, as you get your engine going, you start to notice and see more of that integration or that balance and that harmony of the different actions and mechanics that I was talking about earlier, where you have this cycle. Colonists need oxygen, you need plants to create oxygen, you need water to have plants, and so on and so forth. There's that little cyclical dependency, they coexist. But there's that, and then there's also another cycle that exists between the players and the map and then those technologies. For example, with the technologies, you have different tech that allows you to create and upgrade those different buildings, and they're limited, which means if you have a power plant technology, you have the power plant technology. If I have the greenhouse or the plant technology, that's it, I have the plant technology. And we're each responsible for maintaining and upgrading those technologies. Upgrading means you can build more of them. Let's say I have the greenhouse technology and I have it at maybe level 1. There can only be one, it's not true, but there can only be one greenhouse. And for there to be more than one greenhouse on the entire planet, I then need to upgrade and helping each other out to a certain extent to make sure that the planet becomes colonized. A cool thing is we can use each other's technology. So let's say I want to build the power plant based on the technology that you have. I'd have to pay you in order to build that power plant. And it's just super satisfying and it comes together so well. There's nothing like using a friend or an opponent's technology to get more points and getting a higher position in the game. It just works and it's great and it's genius and I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. And those are my thoughts about On Mars. In the next episode, we're going to take a look at a game that plays with both time and space. If you have any thoughts about what game I might be talking about, let me know in the comments below. Catch you next time.